Good day, and thank you for tuning in to this week's episode with the Real Talks with Doc. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and turn on those post notifications. If you find this content of being any value to your development, your renovation, your real estate journey, please comment in the section below.
Awesome. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning, Kay. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm great.
Awesome. What's new?
There's something always new. What is new is how do we make sure that we are thriving as a company and getting our services to as many people as possible in this economic environment. Our hearts go out to our government workers who are just, any day they go into work, they have no idea what that day will hold for them. So do know that we truly understand. My wife is in the government. We too think about that all the time. So how do we make sure that we are still being available and being present so that our clients, they still take joy in renovating their homes and building a new home if they're in a situation to do so. So that's what we've really been thinking about. That's the new thought point for the company in our leadership meetings. Like, how do we just stay present and how do we stay available to meet the home renovation needs of our clients in this economic environment? Yeah, I know that's kind of heavy this morning. I don't know where that came from. But that was on my heart. This is real organic. We don't script this stuff. I just come in and we shoot.
The first question is, what are the top 3 things homeowners should do before listing their home for sale?
Declutter is the first word that comes to mind. And believe it or not, a lot of homeowners do not realize that they are hoarders. Yes, I said it. So you want to declutter your home as much as possible. We got a simple rule of thumb. If you haven't used it in the last 30 days, remove it in the next 30 minutes. Remember, if you haven't used it in the last 30 days, remove it in the next 30 minutes. You want to declutter your home so people can see the beauty of your home. They can see the spatial orientation of how the furniture fits in a room, right? And decluttering it is the first thing that I tell clients. If you can pick it up and you haven't used it in the last 30 days, move it in the next 30 minutes. That's number 1. Number 2, always do not spot paint, because that's the first thing that clients can notice on a wall, that you have paint and patches and spots. Clients do not realize that the chemical makeup in paint is very finicky. You can have the exact same paint from the exact same bucket, and if you go back and paint a wall that you painted literally just a week ago and just touch it up, you will see a difference in the texture of the paint. You'll see a difference in the slight color and variation of the paint. So when you paint, you want to do a full single coat paint of any area that you're painting so you have a consistent paint job and doesn't look like a patch job that you did and not a professional. So number 1, ding, you're going to do a little thing down here where the word comes up, declutter. Number 2, ding, I guess kid do a little thing that comes down here, paint fully, do not spot paint. And then number 3, most importantly, if you can renovate the kitchen and the bathrooms, please do so. That's where you're going to get a greater bang for your buck back in renovating the kitchen and bathroom, because those 2 areas are the top key selling points of any home. So if you do those 3 things, you just ask your 3 things, Kay. Those are the top 3 things that come to mind.
So what are some mistakes sellers make that hurt their home value or slow down the sale?
That people don't want to see how you live in your home with clutter everywhere, with things everywhere. They want to envision a nice, spacious home that they're going to be living in. So that's the first mistake that people make, that they don't take consideration that they are selling their home to the highest and best bidder. So again, make your home appealing to the highest and best bidder. That's mistake number 1. Mistake number 2 is, these TV shows got people fooled, okay? People now are thinking that they can do electrical work and they're getting shocked on TikTok and YouTube. I know you see these videos, man, people changing plugs and not even killing the power. And I don't even know what kind of tools they use. You see the sparks and stuff from the electrical outlet. There are certain things that you do not have the skill set to do, and there are certain things that you should not be doing when you're getting ready to sell a home to another individual that could be a liability on you because you don't have the expertise to make those home renovations. So know your lane. Know your limitations and what you can and cannot do in terms of home repairs and renovations and selling your home. So that's the second mistake people make. And the third and most common mistake that people make is that they need to listen to the advice of a professional. Everyone at some point think their home is worth more than what the market is willing to pay for it. So get the advice of a professional realtor who will bring factual data to show you exactly what the market is saying that your house is valued, in what condition, what current condition your home is actually in. And then you can have an intelligent conversation going back to those three things that you can do to improve your home to see if the investment is worth the reward. So those are three things that people commonly make the mistake in, thinking that they know how to read comparative market analysis, that they understand how buyers buy in their particular market. Seek the expertise and the assistance of a professional.
That's good information. So how important is timing the market, and what does the 2025 market look like for summer sellers?
Timing is critical. Timing depends on three key things. Timing depends on the time of year. We know that historically November, December, January are the three worst months of the year. And why? Think about it. Thanksgiving time, people are getting ready to entertain. Holidays are coming, people are getting snugged in their homes, getting ready to cook that big Thanksgiving dinner. Nobody wants people in and out of their homes, right? Then you roll into Christmas and New Year. Christmas comes again, people got gifts everywhere. They don't want people trafficking in and out of their home. They're in a holiday mode. And then January, you're coming off of the slug. I shouldn't say slug. You're coming off the high and the joy of Christmas, Thanksgiving, and New Year, and you're just getting ready for your New Year's resolutions, whatever those may be for the new year. So you're not thinking about really selling a home in January. And then things kind of, people start to think about, maybe selling my home is one of my goals for the year. So February, March, April, June, July, August, September are your 4 hottest months of the year. Why is that? People are targeting specific schools. Kids are now starting to matriculate to grade level schools out of daycare, and they want to be in certain neighborhoods. So they start all of that planning for going to house hunt during those 4 key months. So the first thing is the time of year that determines timing. The second thing is how the Federal Reserve control interest rates. People want to buy in a market that has very, very, very low interest rates. People are not used to seeing double-digit interest rates. That's unheard of. But when my parents were alive and they bought a house, double-digit interest rates were a common thing in the 70s and 80s. So people want to buy when interest rates are low because that gives you more buying power. Case in point, if you had a $1 million house at an interest rate, if you had a house at an interest rate of about, let's say 2%, I'm just making these numbers up so you can understand the impact that interest rates play on your buying power. At 2% with the income, a household income of $300,000, you probably could buy $1 million house. Same income, different interest rate. But at, let's say, 7% with a household income of $300,000, that buying power now can go anywhere from like $1 million to like $600,000-$700,000. So you just lost $300,000 in buying power just because of the time of the market and interest rate. So you got the time of the year, you got the time of the market that's predicated upon interest rates. And the third thing that affects timing is sometimes people have family emergencies. Sometimes your time that you want to sell may not be the timing that you had. You could have been furloughed from the government and you had this great house and both you and your spouse are government employees, and now both you and your spouse are both furloughed, and you're living in a house that you may be an empty nester and all the kids are out, and now you start thinking about it. Do you want to deplete your reserves trying to figure out what's going on in this economy, or do you just want to downsize and get out now? So life can dictate the timing of people buying and selling real estate, and life throws all kind of curveballs at us. However, if you're well prepared, if you have a plan, if you thought these things through, regardless of whether it's the most dormant or the most productive season of the year, whether interest rates are higher, whether interest rates are low, whether life throws you a winning lottery ticket or whether life throws you a curveball, you have thought these things through and you have a plan of execution regardless of what the timing is for your real estate sale or purchase.
That's good information. So as a home,
Okay, does this really be good information? You just be sicing me every morning
No, it
saying
is
this is good information. Like I just wonder about that because everything like, yeah, doc, that's good information. Doc, that was great. Yeah. So, Kay, is that really
whack?
was? Yeah, I want you to say it's doc. That was whack, man. We can't shoot that, man. I want you to say that.
No. So as a home buyer, what are some things that you wish you knew before you purchased your first home?
See, that's the funny thing, Kay, because I was hip to the game when I purchased my first home. My first home purchase was not a normal real estate transaction. My first home purchase was an owner-occupied 6-unit apartment building, literally. And because I read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I was reading all kind of other real estate books back then, I got into it with some program, I don't even remember the program, where I paid $0 out of pocket in a 6-unit apartment building as my first home. So I can't say that I'll do anything differently. What I can say is that it makes a difference to do your homework and to understand all the free money you can tap into as a first-time home buyer. It does you a world of good when you know what programs you qualify for before you even purchase a home, because you want to take advantage of those programs. One of the greatest programs I've seen as a realtor, as a developer, as a flipper, is being able to service our veterans who get a VA loan. Now, people understand a VA loan gives you 100% financing. What does that mean? You do not bring a down payment to the table for all of my military people out there who haven't purchased a home yet. Normally, in an FHA loan, you are required to bring 3.5% of the transaction to the deal. With the VA loan, you bring 0% of the transaction to the deal. You have no down payment. It is 100% finance. So that means if you get a seller to give you your seller contribution to help offset your closing costs, all of our veterans out there, you can come to the table and buy a brand new home with not one single dollar, let alone penny, out of pocket. So that's one of the most powerful programs that the government has set up for our veterans, and rightfully so. Thank you so much for your service to our country. Know your programs and know how you can take advantage of the money that's set aside for you by Congress to make sure that you get a piece of that American dream, and that's home ownership.
That was whack. Alright, so like what are some of the craziest things you've seen with homeowners that are looking to get renovations and different things like that?
Homeowners don't realize the cost of good construction. You know, we go into a home, we get calls all the time, and people want a kitchen renovation, and you give them a price, and they're like, whoa, that's a lot. Like, people think you can fully get your kitchen renovated for $5,000 or less. So I want you to think about that. You're talking about demolishing the kitchen completely, from tearing out the kitchen floor, maybe tile and maybe a laminate. You're talking about removing the cabinets. You're talking about maybe relocating some plumbing and electrical, because most people do not like the configuration of their original kitchens. You know, we just function their kitchen differently. You're talking about the cost of the cabinets, the cost of the flooring, the cost of the appliances, the cost of the paint, the cost of the rough-in material, the drywall, the joint compound, the GFCIs you want to update around the kitchen sink. How in the world are you going to get all of that for $5,000 or less? Your appliances, even Samsung basic appliance, when you get a kitchen, a refrigerator, a microwave, a fume hood, a dishwasher, that alone can cost you $5,000 just for the appliances. So clients have this misperception and distorted understanding of what a renovation truly costs. And I just say to them, AI is so powerful now. I really want to take some AI classes. You can just AI, what does a kitchen renovation cost in DC, Maryland, Virginia? And AI, I should do this live, but I don't have time because I don't really know how to finagle. And I just got a new, not giving them credit, but I switched over from one platform to the other, and it's kind of weird because I'm still learning this platform, but I digress. Let's get back to this. But nevertheless, have a realistic understanding of what a renovation costs so you can have a more engaging conversation with your contractor.
Well, we are closing. What are some words of wisdom that you have for us this week?
Words of wisdom. Words of wisdom. God, Kay, love these words of wisdom. What's on my heart and mind to express to the world today? Words of wisdom. Wow, why did that one just come up? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That is very, very, very powerful. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So even if someone is not giving you the energy that you want, even if someone is not giving you the kindness that you want, even if someone is not giving you the business that you want, you still treat them as Christ loved the church, with kindness. You still treat them with respect. And most importantly, you still treat them with love, because that is what we all want, even when we don't give it. So with that being said and done, Kay, I close that out on my heart. Till next time, I'll see you at our next construction site.